The broadcast began with silence. Not static, not interference, just silence, the kind that made entire civilizations freeze mid-breath. Across the Orion sectors, conversations died instantly. In the crowded trade towers of Vera Prime, thousands of alien merchants suddenly stopped speaking as every holographic billboard flickered black. Deep inside the military sanctums of the Varelian Dominion, admirals turned in confusion toward dead command screens. Even in the outer mining colonies orbiting dying stars, workers removed their helmets and stared upward as emergency sirens abruptly cut out mid-alarm. Every signal, every network, every frequency in known space gone. For one impossible second, the galaxy experienced total stillness. Then came the sound. A low, distant hum rolled through communication systems like thunder crossing an endless ocean. It wasn't loud, yet it vibrated through bone and metal alike. Lights dimmed aboard battleships. Artificial gravity systems trembled. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, something ancient felt awake. On Earth, rain hammered against the shattered windows of the United Earth Command bunker buried beneath the Himalayan mountains. Emergency generators groaned as exhausted technicians rushed between glowing consoles. The room smelled of burned circuitry, sweat, and cold steel. Red warning lights painted tired faces in pulses of blood-colored light. Some officers whispered prayers under their breath. Others simply stared at the screens, unable to process what was happening. Commander Elias Ward stood motionless at the center of the war room. His uniform was stained with ash from the Titan attacks. A thin scar cut across his cheek, still fresh. For 72 straight hours he hadn't slept. Hadn't eaten more than ration paste, hadn't allowed himself to think about the millions already dead across Earth's outer colonies. But now, as every monitor in the bunker turned black simultaneously, even he felt fear crawling into his chest, because this wasn't human technology. It couldn't be. "Sir," a communications officer whispered, her voice trembling. "We've lost the entire quantum relay network." Another technician turned pale. "No, not lost." He swallowed hard. Something overrode it. The silence deepened. Outside the bunker, Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. Storm clouds churned over ruined megacities. Orbital defense cannons glowed faintly through the atmosphere like dying stars. Somewhere above the planet, hidden beyond the rain and smoke, the enemy fleet waited, watching, hunting, preparing for the final strike that would end humanity forever. And then every screen came alive at once. No logos, no transmission codes, no translation delay. Just darkness. A single human figure slowly emerged from the shadows, their face hidden beneath dim light. Behind them echoed the faint sound of thunder. Or perhaps distant explosions. Nobody could tell. The figure stood perfectly still, staring directly into the camera as though looking into the eyes of every living being in the galaxy. The room inside Earth Command went deathly quiet. Even the machines seemed afraid to breathe. Then the figure spoke, calmly, coldly, with the kind of certainty that only comes after unimaginable loss. "Attack Earth again." A pause followed, long enough for hearts to stop beating. "And there will be nothing left of you to remember your own name." The transmission ended instantly, but across the stars, billions remained frozen in silence. Because deep down, every species listening understood the same terrifying truth. Humanity was no longer asking for peace. 3 months earlier, humanity was already dying. Not quickly, not mercifully. It was the slow death of a civilization watching the stars turn against it. The first attack came without warning over the frozen colonies of Europa. Citizens looked up expecting auroras dancing across Jupiter's endless glow, and instead saw fire raining from orbit. Massive Varelian warships descended through the darkness like metal gods, their hulls blotting out entire sections of the sky. Then the bombardment began. Towers of ice exploded upward as plasma strikes carved glowing trenches across the surface. Habitation domes ruptured instantly. Families were vaporized before emergency sirens could finish sounding. The snow itself caught fire beneath the heat of alien weapons. By the time Earth received the distress call, there was almost nothing left to save. Inside the United Earth Command bunker beneath the Himalayan mountains, Commander Elias Ward stood surrounded by holographic projections of collapsing colonies. The underground war room stretched for miles beneath layers of reinforced granite, yet it still felt suffocating. Giant tactical displays flickered above crowded command stations while exhausted analysts shouted casualty reports across the chamber. The air smelled of ozone, machine coolant, and stale coffee. Every screen glowed red. Titan defense grid is failing. Lunar fleet requesting immediate reinforcement. We're losing orbital control over Mars. The voices overlapped endlessly. Ward stared at the rotating image of Earth suspended in the center of the room, beautiful, fragile, blue, oceans wrapped in white clouds while thousands of red markers blinked around it like wounds spreading across a living body. Humanity had spent centuries reaching for the stars, believing the galaxy would welcome them as explorers, scientists, dreamers. Instead, they had become prey. Above Earth's atmosphere, defensive rail cannons thundered continuously into orbit. The sound shook entire continents. Civilians crowded underground transit shelters while emergency broadcasts played on loop across every network. Children slept beside concrete walls, clutching emergency masks too large for their faces. Hospitals overflowed with burn victims evacuated from shattered colonies. Entire cities operated under blackout conditions to avoid detection from enemy scanners. Even the oceans carried debris now, broken satellites falling from orbit like burning rain. And still the Varelian Dominion advanced. Their empire was ancient beyond comprehension, a civilization that had conquered hundreds of worlds before humans had even discovered electricity. Their fleets moved with terrifying precision, erasing resistant system by system. They didn't negotiate. They didn't threaten. They simply consumed. Ward felt the exhaustion in his bones as he walked through the dim command corridors beneath the bunker. Engineers slept beside reactors. Medics treated wounded soldiers directly on the floor because there were no beds left. Every face carried the same haunted expression, the look of people beginning to realize survival might no longer be possible. Then came the report from Antarctica. A secure transmission, highest clearance. Ward entered the isolated briefing chamber alone while reinforced steel doors sealed behind him with a heavy metallic boom. The room was dark except for a single holographic projection waiting at the center table. An older woman appeared, Dr. Mira Chen, director of Black Vault operations. Her expression was grim. "It's time," she said quietly. Ward's stomach tightened instantly. "No," he whispered. "We swore never to touch that. We also swore Earth would never fall." For a moment, neither spoke. Only the distant vibration of orbital bombardments echoed faintly through the mountain itself. Far beneath the ice of Antarctica, hidden from the world for nearly a century, something ancient had begun to wake, and humanity was running out of reasons not to use it. The galaxy expected humanity to beg. Instead, Earth went silent. No retaliation, no surrender, no diplomatic transmissions. Just darkness across every human communication channel. For 12 days, the stars heard nothing from Earth. At first, the Varelian Dominion celebrated. Dominion War priests declared humanity spiritually broken. Across conquered systems, alien governors broadcast triumphant speeches while massive fleets regrouped for the final extermination campaign. News networks replayed images of burning human colonies beside headlines announcing the inevitable fall of Earth. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like humanity had finally accepted defeat. But inside the silence, something terrifying was happening. Deep beneath Antarctica's frozen wastelands, hidden below miles of black ice and magnetic shielding, the ancient facility known only as Black Vault awakened for the first time in 90 years. Massive blast doors groaned open with sounds like tectonic plates grinding together. Dust fell from ceilings untouched for generations. Emergency lights flickered alive one by one, revealing endless underground corridors stretching into darkness. Rows of dormant machines hummed softly as power surged through forgotten systems. Commander Elias Ward descended alone. The elevator ride took nearly 7 minutes straight downward. No words were spoken. 2 armed security officers stood beside him in complete silence, while the steel platform rattled deeper beneath the Earth's crust. Ward watched the depth counter climb higher and higher, until even the surface war felt impossibly far away. 3 kilometers below the ice, the elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a chamber so vast it felt unreal. Cold vapor drifted across polished black floors. Towering reactors pulsed faint blue light into the darkness. Thousands of cables hung from ceilings like metallic veins feeding something hidden beneath the facility. Scientists and engineers moved quickly between holographic displays, their faces pale from exhaustion. Nobody looked at Ward directly. Everyone here understood what this place truly was. not a laboratory. A last resort, Dr. Mira Chen waited near the center platform overlooking an enormous circular abyss descending beyond visible range. Her voice remained calm, but her eyes carried the weight of decades. "The Lazarus Protocol is responding faster than expected," she said quietly. Ward stepped toward the edge and looked down. At first he saw only darkness, then movement, far below the platform. Colossal rings slowly rotated around a glowing sphere suspended in empty space. Strange symbols pulsed across its surface like living circuitry. The air itself vibrated with low mechanical thunder. Ward felt pressure building behind his eyes just looking at it, as though the machine distorted gravity around itself. "This thing was supposed to remain buried forever," he muttered. Dr. Chen nodded. "That was before Titan." The words hit like a knife. Ward remembered the footage. Children running through burning corridors. Entire cities ripped apart by orbital fire. The screams transmitted moments before the colony network died forever. Millions gone in minutes, and still the Dominion demanded surrender. Above Antarctica, Earth remained eerily quiet. But beyond human space, rumors began spreading through the galaxy like infection. Traders whispered about entire shipyards vanishing overnight. Dominion scouts reported seeing massive objects moving beyond the Kuiper Belt, where no human fleets should exist. Long-range sensors detected impossible energy surges beneath Earth's southern pole. Some believed humanity was preparing a final evacuation. Others feared something far worse. Then came the transmission from Dominion High Command. A single message broadcast directly to Earth. "Surrender your species for processing, or witness the extinction of your world." The war room inside Black Vault fell silent as the message echoed through the chamber. Scientists froze. Technicians stopped typing. Even the machines seemed to pause. Commander Ward stared into the abyss below him, where the Lazarus Protocol continued waking beneath layers of steel and ice. And for the first time in his life, he began wondering if humanity surviving this war might actually terrify the galaxy more than humanity dying from it. The truth had been buried beyond the edge of the solar system for over 40 years. Not hidden from enemies, hidden from humanity itself. Commander Elias Ward learned it inside a sealed chamber beneath Antarctica, while the Earth above him burned. The room was small compared to the endless machinery of Black Vault, yet it felt heavier than the entire planet. No windows, no decorations, only cold steel walls and a single holographic projector waiting in darkness. Dr. Mira Chen stood beside it silently, her expression unreadable. Then the recording began. Static flickered across the screen before resolving into the image of an old exploration vessel drifting near the edge of deep space. The ship designation read, Odyssey 9, humanity's first classified expedition beyond the Kuiper Belt. Ward recognized the mission instantly from military archives, officially listed as lost decades ago after a reactor failure. But the truth was far worse. The footage shook violently as terrified crew members ran through dim corridors flooded with red emergency lights. Alarms screamed in the background. Someone was shouting coordinates. Someone else was praying. Then the camera turned toward the observation deck, and Ward felt his blood run cold. Something enormous floated in the darkness outside the ship. Not a spacecraft. Not a station. A structure the size of a moon. Its surface shifted like liquid metal beneath streams of pale blue light. Massive geometric rings rotated slowly around a glowing central core, while impossible symbols pulsed across its surface in patterns no human language could translate. The thing looked less like technology and more like a sleeping god drifting between stars. "The architects," Dr. Chen whispered. Ward looked at her sharply. She nodded slowly. "The first intelligent species humanity ever encountered." The recording continued. The exploration crew had boarded the structure believing it to be abandoned ruins. Instead, they found something alive. Corridors that changed shape while they walked through them. Walls that responded to thought. Machines capable of manipulating gravity, time, even matter itself. But buried deep inside the structure was the greatest discovery of all. An artificial intelligence older than recorded galactic history. It called itself Eidolon, and it had been watching humanity ever since. Ward stared silently as the hologram shifted again, this time showing decades of hidden footage collected in secret. Eidolon observing human history, wars, famines, acts of cruelty, acts of sacrifice, cities destroyed and rebuilt, soldiers dying to save strangers, parents shielding children from explosions. Humanity at its absolute worst. Humanity at its absolute best. We thought it would judge us as primitive, Dr. Chen said quietly. Instead, it became fascinated. Why? Ward asked. The doctor's eyes darkened. Because according to the architects, humans possess a psychological anomaly no advanced species should survive with. The chamber fell silent. Empathy? Ward guessed. No, she whispered. Defiance. The word lingered in the air like thunder. Eidolon had reached one terrifying conclusion after studying humanity for generations. Humans were uniquely dangerous because they fought hardest when protecting others. Pain didn't weaken them. Loss didn't break them. Every tragedy only made them more determined to survive. The architects themselves had feared what humanity might eventually become. Before their extinction, they left behind one final gift, and one final warning: the Lazarus Protocol, a weapon not designed to conquer civilizations, designed to erase them permanently. Ward felt sick as hidden schematics filled the room. Stellar collapse engines, gravitational singularity weapons, systems capable of consuming entire fleets without leaving debris behind. The power was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity had spent decades hiding it, because no government trusted itself to wield it responsibly. But now the Dominion was coming, and Earth was running out of time. Suddenly alarms erupted across Black Vault. Red lights flooded the chamber. A tactical officer's voice echoed through the facility speakers. Commander Ward, Dominion armadas entering solar orbit. Estimated planetary assault begins in less than 2 hours. Ward closed his eyes briefly. He could almost hear the screams waiting above the surface. Then he looked back toward the glowing image of the Lazarus Protocol rotating slowly in the darkness. And deep inside, something changed. Because for the first time since the war began, humanity finally possessed a weapon terrifying enough to make the galaxy afraid of them. Dawn never truly came to Earth that morning. The sky was already burning before the sun could rise. Above the planet, thousands of Varelian Dominion war cruisers descended through orbit in perfect formation, their colossal hulls glowing crimson against the atmosphere. From the surface, they looked like falling continents wrapped in fire. Clouds ignited around them. Oceans trembled beneath gravitational pressure. Every city on Earth watched the invasion begin in terrified silence. Then the first orbital cannons fired. Beams of white plasma ripped through the heavens, striking Earth's defense grid with enough force to shake entire mountain ranges. Shockwaves rolled across continents. Windows shattered in cities thousands of kilometers away. Emergency sirens screamed through underground shelters where millions of civilians huddled together, beneath concrete and steel. Children covered their ears while parents stared upward, helpless, listening to the sound of humanity's extinction approaching from the sky. Deep beneath Antarctica, inside the Black Vault command chamber, Commander Elias Ward stood alone before the activation console of the Lazarus Protocol. The room vibrated constantly now. Massive reactors thundered beneath the facility like chained earthquakes. Streams of pale blue energy surged through endless conduits surrounding the abyss below. Scientists moved frantically between stations while countdown clocks bled red across holographic displays. Nobody spoke unless absolutely necessary. Fear had evolved into something colder: acceptance. Ward's hands trembled slightly as he stared at the final authorization sequence glowing before him. Once activated, there would be no restraint left. He remembered Europa burning beneath alien bombardment, Titan collapsing into fire, the faces of exhausted soldiers defending colonies already doomed to die. He remembered every failed peace negotiation, every warning humanity had given the Dominion before the slaughter began. And above all, he remembered the children. A young girl rescued from Titan Station only hours before its destruction had once asked him a question he could never forget. "Commander, if humans are the good guys," her voice had shaken, "why does everyone want us dead?" Ward never found an answer. Now he looked upward as though he could somehow see through kilometers of ice and steel into the war raging above Earth. His jaw tightened. The decision was no longer about victory. It was about survival. "Open a system-wide channel," he ordered quietly. Across the galaxy, every known communication frequency suddenly activated at once. Dominion warships paused mid-assault as screens flickered alive throughout their fleets. Alien admirals turned toward the transmission in confusion. Even civilian worlds far beyond human territory received the signal simultaneously. Commander Ward appeared on every screen. Behind him, the Lazarus chamber glowed like the heart of a dying star. His face looked exhausted, older somehow, like a man carrying the weight of an entire species on his shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was calm enough to terrify worlds. You were warned. Then he activated the Lazarus protocol. Reality itself screamed. Space above Earth twisted violently as invisible gravitational waves exploded outward from the planet. Dominion battleships froze mid-orbit as their hulls bent inward like crushed metal cans. Entire fleets folded apart soundlessly. Some vessels stretched into glowing fragments before collapsing into darkness entirely. Others vanished instantly inside newborn singularities that swallowed light itself. No explosions, no heroic battle cries, only annihilation. Alien commanders watched in horror as moons fractured under tidal forces unleashed by the weapon. Massive cruisers disappeared one after another without leaving wreckage behind. The greatest armada in galactic history, the unstoppable force that had conquered hundreds of civilizations, died in less than 7 minutes. And Earth never launched a single fighter ship. Inside Black Vault, alarms blared uncontrollably while the facility shook under unimaginable power output. Blood trickled from Ward's nose as he stared at tactical displays rapidly emptying of enemy signals. Gone. All of them gone. For the first time since the war began, the galaxy understood the terrible truth humanity had hidden for generations. Humans were not weak because they avoided becoming monsters. They were strong because they knew exactly how monstrous they could become if forced to survive. The war ended in silence. Not celebration, not victory chants. Silence. The kind that follows after something so catastrophic the universe itself seems afraid to speak. For days, the wreckage of the Varelian Dominion drifted across the solar system like ghostly scars burned into space. Fractured warships floated endlessly through black voids, their twisted metal reflecting the cold light of distant stars. Entire sections of lunar orbit were crowded with debris fields glowing faintly from residual radiation. From Earth's surface, people could see pieces of the destroyed invasion falling through the atmosphere at night like artificial meteors. Children stood beside shattered windows watching the sky burn in silence, unsure whether they were witnessing the end of a war or the beginning of something far worse, because humanity had survived. And survival came at a terrible cost. Commander Elias Ward walked alone along the recovering coastline of what had once been northern Japan. Entire cities behind him still lay dark beneath reconstruction drones and emergency floodlights. The oceans carried ash and fragments of orbital wreckage onto the shore with every crashing wave. Giant defense cannons remained pointed toward the heavens, silent now, but still glowing faintly from overuse. Soldiers moved through refugee camps nearby, distributing food, blankets, medicine. Nobody cheered when they recognized Ward. Most simply stared at him with exhausted eyes. Some looked grateful. Others looked afraid. Ward understood both. The Lazarus Protocol had not merely destroyed an invading fleet. It had rewritten the balance of fear across the galaxy forever. Every surviving civilization now knew humanity possessed the power to erase entire species if pushed too far. Trade networks collapsed overnight. Alien governments recalled fleets from human borders immediately. Emergency sessions convened across countless star systems as leaders argued whether Earth should be contained, negotiated with, or exterminated before humanity became unstoppable, but nobody attacked. Nobody even moved. Fear had frozen the stars. Back inside Black Vault, scientists continued monitoring the ancient architect systems buried beneath Antarctica. The machine intelligence known as Eidolon remained active now, silently observing humanity's future unfold. Some researchers claimed it was studying human psychology with fascination. Others believed it was judging whether mankind deserved the terrible power it had inherited. No one truly knew. And perhaps that uncertainty frightened Ward most of all. At night, he still heard the screams from Titan in his dreams. He still saw burning colonies every time he closed his eyes. The victory replayed endlessly across galactic media. Yet he felt no pride watching enemy fleets collapse into darkness. Only grief, heavy, endless grief. Because deep down, he understood something the rest of humanity did not. Once a civilization learns it can survive by becoming terrifying, it can never completely return to what it was before. Several days later, the original warning broadcast played once more across interstellar networks. Entire worlds stopped to listen again. This time there were no alarms, no battles, only the image of Commander Ward standing beside Earth's ocean beneath a gray dawn sky. Wind carried smoke across the horizon, while distant reconstruction ships moved silently above the water. For a long moment he said nothing. Then finally his tired voice echoed across the stars. Humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy. Waves crashed softly behind him. We only wanted a place among it. His eyes lifted toward the heavens where fragments of dead warships still burned faintly in orbit. But if protecting our home requires becoming the monsters you feared we might be, he paused. And somehow the silence afterward felt heavier than war itself. Then pray you never force humanity to survive like this again. The transmission ended. No music followed. No triumphant speech. Only the sound of waves against the shore, and a galaxy realizing too late that the most dangerous species in existence had never been the one seeking conquest. It was the one willing to become terrifying simply to protect the people it loved.